Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Deb Santos, and this is Healing with Santos. Here, we're going to be talking about mental health, personal development, and spiritual awakening. Today, I'm actually going to talk to you guys about my personal spiritual awakening, which I have been wanting to discuss for a long, long time now, but have always felt this fear or hesitancy behind it because of how I initially felt. And then when I had expressed what was going on, I got kind of mixed reviews from people as to what was happening with me. But I know that this is part of my calling. This is something that I have to do. And the reason that I know this is because I am one of the first, not just in my family, but also in a large percentage of the different friend groups that I have who have gone through this. So that being said, I know, or at least it is my internal knowing, that at some point a lot of people will be going through this. And it is my hope that I leave this here so that other people, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, can look back and view this, can look back and get some support, can look back and not feel so alone. And especially for people who I know, maybe that's uncomfortable to reach out. Maybe they don't want to overwhelm me or feel like a burden. I know that's a lot for many people. And so I leave this here. I leave these little nuggets so that you guys can look back, because I do feel that there is shift happening. There is going to be more of this awakening happening. So anyway, without further ado, I will explain. About 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, so about 2 summers ago, so we're approaching summertime. About 2 years ago, I had my spiritual awakening, the beginning of my journey. As I mentioned in my previous video, I do think spirituality had always been kind of a part of my life, just these like little things, the divine being involved in some way, but I just wasn't always aware or in tune, tapped into it. Now, 2 years ago, I experienced the loss of a few different relationships, and I do think that this might have kind of been kind of like a catalyst. I hope I'm using the right word. Something that would have just kind of pushed me a little bit more into this. I know that some people take, psychedelics, or might use plant medicine or do different types of things to actually start a spiritual awakening or to kind of expand their consciousness. At the time, 2 years ago, I knew nothing about that. So there was nothing I was doing that would have just kind of put me into this situation. But what I can remember, and it's a little difficult looking back, but what I can remember is it was almost like I had woken up from a dream, almost like I woke up from a dreamlike state. And I vividly kind of remember kind of walking around where I was living at the time and just being like, what have I done? Like, why? Like, what's going on? So if you can imagine kind of looking back on this, it was as if I had been asleep for, let's see, I'm about to be 33, so I guess I was almost 31 at the time. Maybe I was 31. So 31 years old. And it was as if I had just woken up and I felt that I didn't have any control over what happened over those 31 years. I woke up and I just saw circumstances that the way they were, as if somebody else had done them. So I had the shift in consciousness of like, oh my gosh, I did this. I created all of this. Why? Why did I do this? And so you can imagine there was a whole mix, a roller coaster of emotions of me just recognizing what I had done. And the way I'm saying this, I know it sounds like it was like tragic, like, oh my gosh, what did she do? It wasn't that I did anything bad. It was just that I recognized in that moment that all of my decisions I did not make from a conscious place. And to kind of delve into this further, many of us have these conditions put onto us, either from childhood, from teachers, from just adults as we're growing up. And then even when we are adults, we have other people coming into our lives who say things, who kind of leave these imprints, these footprints on us as to who we are, who they say we should be, who they think that we are. And then we start to take that in. We start to take on that belief. Our beliefs, our thoughts, all of that creates our reality. And I believe the reason why I'm also making this is because I strongly believe that we all deserve to know that we are in control, that we are conscious creators, that we create our reality. But again, it goes back to the beliefs, the thoughts, and our behaviors from that place. So rewind. So I'm like in this place where it's like I've just woken up from a dream, and I'm just like, wow, like this is my life. This is where I'm at, and it kind of I guess I would say it's a little similar from what people describe, I guess, as like a midlife crisis. It's just like you're looking around, you're just like, what? Anyway, so I had that. On top of that, I just like was kind of almost bombarded by just these beliefs about myself and about life. And it was this process of like dismantling, like deconstructing them, and then starting from the ground up. It sounds easy, but it was not. It was like heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. It was just like mind-blowing. It was heavy. It was a lot. Because what I once believed, what I once thought was true, was not anymore. And again, I was going through this alone at first. I had nobody to discuss this with. I had nobody to just like lean on. I felt crazy. I questioned my sanity because I was like, is this normal? What is happening? But then on top of that too, like I said, I was going through a period where a few of my relationships were kind of dismantling themselves as well. So it was like dealing with the grief and loss of that, and the anger and resentment and all this, everything in once. And then it was like, oh yeah, in your life and everything you once thought you knew, and what your beliefs are, and you as a being, like, so it was all this stuff happening at once. It was wild. So anyway, so it was working on just kind of unlearning a lot of things. And like I said, I share this because I do think that a lot of people are experiencing this. Maybe they're not experiencing it as heavy or as full blown as I did in that moment. And everybody's experience is different. I've heard some people, when they go through this, it's like a very euphoric, like they can tap into something. That was not my experience. That was not my experience. I did get to those points at times where I did feel, like connected, that we were all one, that, wow, but in that moment, the start of this journey was very, very rough. But anyway, so I just wanted to give you a brief overview. That is kind of where I had started. And then I had to like go on YouTube myself, or I think I had Googled just different things that I had been experiencing, what I was feeling, to kind of get an idea of like, what is happening? Am I okay? What's going on? And I found some people who were really helpful, and I will leave their information in the chat below, because I do think that if you are on this path, or if you even are watching this and are interested in it, you are starting your journey. Maybe it's not full blown yet. Maybe it hasn't really triggered something in you yet, but you are on the path to remembering who you are. So one of those people is Abraham Hicks. I will put that below. Really, really good content. I mean, even if you don't particularly resonate with this, it is such a high vibrational thing to listen to. And I think everybody can get something out of it. I mean, either you're struggling with financial or relationship or just self-love. It's a great resource. So I will leave that below, along with some other YouTubers that I felt were helpful along my journey. Something I guess that I would do to start practicing this, if you feel like you are there, or you are starting this journey, or maybe you're just curious about it, is just taking time to gather awareness around what your beliefs are, what you are actually thinking, what are your thoughts, and not from a judgmental place. Again, just observing, you know. One of the greatest things I think that I learned in this journey so far is that everything is fundamentally neutral. Everything. It's not until we attach some type of meaning that it becomes something different. So to give you an example, as a therapist, if I have a wooden spoon on my desk, somebody who's a chef or into like culinary, they might come in and think that that's really awesome, you know, and start up a conversation. Somebody who comes in who has been beaten by a spoon in childhood might not want me as a therapist, might wonder, why do I have a spoon on my desk? Okay, so again, it's the meaning that we're attaching to it. And when you can understand that, you can start to work with that, shift that to serve you. Just serve whatever it is that you are going for, whatever it is that you are trying to create, consciously create. Okay. Another thing is to look at or compare, you know, what are the things that I feel that I have been taught or that people have told me about myself versus me sitting here in this moment and recognizing, no, actually, this is who I am, or this is who I'm choosing to be, and going through that. So kind of going back to when I had awakened, and it really did feel like I woke up. It's like somebody just like snap out of it. And I was like, oh my God. With that, I had recognized, and I say this with no regret, I had recognized that I was living a life that I felt like maybe society, maybe it was parental upbringing. I'm not sure exactly where I got it from. I still am kind of doing the work in that area, but I do think it was kind of more societal conditioning, where I looked at, like, I have kids, I was married at the time, like these things that I recognized. I was like, I'm not even happy in this. Like, this isn't what I thought I had chosen for myself. And again, I say this with no regret. I love my children. I love where I'm at. I love my life. I love the people in my life. And I recognize that it was all supposed to happen. The concept, though, that I am going to is that I was not consciously creating it. Not for me, not for my own sole purpose. I was doing it because I felt that that's what I should be doing. That that is the right thing to do. That that is what we are here to do. Have children, get married, do these things. Turned out that that's not what my soul wants. That's not what I was here to do. And so I'm sure that everybody has their own story, but really kind of looking into that and comparing it so that you can step out of that, so that you can actually consciously create the life that you want, that's going to bring you the most joy and the most value to the world. Because value is going to come from the joy that you have, the joy that you feel, and how good you feel about yourself. Another thing too, on this journey, I know that meditation is a little woo-woo for people, or, you know, especially given religious conditioning. Maybe it's not always talked about, or people are hesitant about it, but I do think that meditation helps a lot. The reason it helps is because you're going in. You're not seeking from the external, you're going in, and that's where you're going to get your answers. Google doesn't have all the answers. Your priest doesn't have all the answers. You've got to go inside. You've got to tap into you. And I think that's pretty much it for right now. I think those are some of the really good, just like basic steps. Additionally, in general, just raising your vibration. I will do another video as to what that means and how we can do that. But I think for starters, just recognizing if you are on this path that you are not alone, and it's actually a really good thing. May not always feel great, but it's a really good thing. And I do think that everybody at some point is going to experience some type of shift. You are going to shift in your consciousness, in your being. And I really hope for you, as it's been so good for me, that you will remember who you are. All right, that's it. I love you. Take care.